Okay, welcome to the fourth video. This is looking at childhood again, and particularly this is going to spend some time looking at the nature and nurture of our gender development. Okay, so you should probably be looking at page 10 and 11 in your packets. This is going to finish up our childhood discussion. So again, this is looking at infancy and gender and childhood and when our genders develop. Some of it is biological and some of it is social. Okay, so let's start with what is the difference between gender and sex. Sex refers strictly to the biological traits that define male and female. So why are some people considered a male and some people considered a female? Well, this is due to our biological traits. So the testicles would attach to males, and ovaries would attach to females. Okay, gender now is how society associates our biological traits and creates an image or characteristics as what that role should be. So they create a gender. Gender, although is biologically influenced, because it's going to tell whether you're the male or the female, this idea of gender is really socially constructed. So influenced by one's biology and society. So gender, are you a male or female in the world today? So first let's talk about some gender similarities. Pretty much a male and a female are pretty much biologically the same. We have 45 chromosomes that are similar, and then the only one other chromosome that is different is either going to tell you that you're a man or a woman. So the majority of the other 45 chromosomes are pretty much similar. What are some gender differences? They listed a number in the book, and there's going to be a number of other gender differences you learn throughout the various chapters. But one, women enter puberty 2 years earlier. Another is women live on average 5 years longer. Okay, women carry 70% more body fat and 40% less muscle. Women's smell tends to be stronger. Women on average are 5 inches shorter. Women are more vulnerable to eating disorders and depression, while men are more prone to suicide, ADHD, color blindness, and autism. Okay, we'll look at gender and aggression. So aggression is a physical or verbal behavior that tend to hurt somebody. Okay, with surveys they gave between men and women, the surveys stated that men admit to be more aggressive. In experiments that they done with men and women, men were more prone to administer the more painful shocks on an individual. Men are more often found to support wars. They like activities that are exerting aggression and fighting and hunting. On statistics in terms of murder, this was taken in 2008. The statistic states that 7 men are to every 1 woman are more prone to violent crimes, specifically murder. Gender and social power. Social power refers to the various cultures around the world. Men are seen in various settings oftentimes as the leader. Okay, I think a lot of the times social power is influenced by society from your childhood. Men are more seen as dominant figures, forceful and independent. Men are often more directive and autocratic. They believe in having like the ultimate power. Women, on the other hand, are differential. They're nurturing. They're affiliate, which means they like social contact. They're more democratic, doing one for the group, and they're more welcoming. So you kind of think of the different people in your life that maybe possess the male dominant traits and the women traits in terms of social power. Okay. Around the world, males held more political power, 82% of world government positions. You're now beginning to understand now that we have like this gender, we're affiliating or we're associating with specific roles that we have. So gender roles are how males and females should behave in society, or the different tasks that they take on. Another topic is gender and social connectedness. Social connectedness is how you kind of associate with your surroundings. Women are more prone to work one-on-one with somebody. Okay, women are more interested in the topic of conversation, holding dialogues. Think about if you're a girl, you like that closeness with your friends, your girlfriends. You like to talk about what's going on. You like to maybe not so much gossip, but you like to kind of touch base with them, tell stories. You're very open to feedback. You're interdependent. You need to be connected. And then you usually hold jobs that are high in contact with people. So you think a lot about the women at our school. There's usually more teachers that you've had that are women. They like the contact with people. Other jobs that women hold are nurses. They like being associated with people. Women usually have that interconnectedness in the household. They usually are the ones that are taking care of the household, that are usually more prone to touching base with each individual kid in the household. And a lot of this information was taken from the book, majority of it. Men, on the other hand, are more interested in competition. Men enjoy working in groups with little discussion. You think about team sports, they like to be in a big group of people, little communication, kind of following the leader. That's the only type of communication you really have. Oftentimes they say male have the male answer syndrome. If they don't know the answers, girls would be like, I don't know, can you explain it? Males, on the other hand, will try and come up with an answer, even if it's not right, just so they don't have to say that they don't know. Jobs are more centered around figuring out problems independently. So you think about the business world. Okay, a lot of men like to be in a job where there's not a ton of everyday communication. It's more kind of independent figuring out those problems. There has been a ton of research done on this. One I thought particularly was interested in the phone call length between men and women. Men, average length of a phone call might be 4 minutes, and a woman's is longer. It's about almost double. It's 7 minutes long. So you think about the conversations you might have with your mom versus your dad. Okay, my mom would go on and on and on about different stories, and my dad would be really quick and to the point. Okay, now we're going to talk about the nature of gender. Okay, so what is the biological impact of gender? Well, obviously, it's your sex trait. So it is usually during the 7th week, you're beginning to develop whether or not you're going to be a boy or a girl. You get the X chromosomes you get are from your mother, okay, and then you get another chromosome. It's either going to be an X or a Y, and you get that from your father. If you get another X, it's going to be a girl. If you get a Y, it's going to be a boy. The Y chromosomes include a master switch that triggers the testes to develop and produce testosterone, usually around the 4th month. So testosterone, both girls and boys have it, but a huge amount, a surge of testosterone is going to happen around the 4th month if it's going to develop a boy. In adults, they talked about the biological impacts. They found that females have a thicker frontal lobe with higher level questioning ability, and a little bit more of that one-on-one association, that personality that they need, those traits they need. Men, however, their parietal lobe is thicker. That's allowing them to understand different perceptions better. Okay, so now let's talk about the nurture, the social environment that impacts gender. In general, we all have roles, okay? It's like a character in a play. A role is a set of expectations about a social position, defining how these social positions ought to behave. So I have many roles. We all have many roles. A teacher. And then I have expectations I'm supposed to follow. I'm supposed to be kind, and I'm supposed to, be a role model, and I'm supposed to communicate well. A mom, I'm supposed to be nurturing and caring and supportive. A friend, okay, has a certain type of roles in your life. So we all have roles. A gender role is a set of expectations or behaviors for whether you're a male or a female. So we kind of began talking about this before, okay? Males are the gender roles in society, or it used to be, men go to work and women stay home and take care of the kids. Okay, men are supposed to be doing the very masculine jobs, and girls' gender roles are you do the cooking and the cleaning. Now, I know that's very stereotypical, but think about maybe some of the gender roles that have been a part of our society for generations and generations. In a survey that was handed out to men and women, 90% in the survey stated that women take care of the household needs. Okay, gender roles, however, are changing and evolving, and we've noticed a big shift in gender roles. Before, men used to be the one that went to school. They were the one that was educated. Girls were not allowed in colleges, okay, in the early 1900s. Now, however, the shift is dramatic. Okay, if you look at this graph, right, in 1976, okay, a very small percentage of girls ended up graduating with medical degrees, law degrees, and degrees in psychology. Now, however, you can see the number is rising. Okay, it jumped from 35% of women in 1976 getting a PhD in psychology, and now you can see it's close to 70%, and this was in 2005. Of women getting a PhD in psychology. So that's 30% in the past, 40 years. That's huge. Okay. Same thing with students going, female going to law school. The number is increasing from about 30% in 1976 to about 50% in 2005. And the last one was female medical graduate students, so maybe potential doctors. It was 20% in 1976, pretty low number. And now today we almost have like half of it, 50% in 2005 are getting medical degrees. And that was, 10 years ago. So it would be interesting to see where this data is today. Okay. We also have gender, and there's a section on child rearing. Okay, gender identity deals with our understanding of who we are and our gender roles. So our sense of being, okay, a male or a female. Our understanding of our role. I understand that I'm a female. I understand that the roles that come along with my sense of being a female. Okay, gender typing is pretty much the stereotyping of that role. So men are masculine, they're supposed to play with guns and trucks. Okay, and then females are more feminine, they're supposed to be playing with makeup. So it's kind of the stereotype that we add on to those roles. Social learning, how do we learn these roles? Okay, a lot of it is through, if you're talking about the sociocultural perspective here, we learn it through our experiences. Okay, from our parents, from our mothers, from TV, from school, from friends. You think about all the Disney movies that develop our gender roles. Okay, girls are supposed to be the princesses and boys are supposed to be Prince Charming and taking care of us. Okay, it begins very young. I'm happy to say the gender roles are beginning to change with movies like Brave, okay, where they're putting girls in positions to make changes. But I think that this is going to take a long time to overcome. Okay, parents and peers is another section of the text that influences our social development. And again, we're going to resort back to nurture and nature. So, parents in your early experience, there is a link between nurture and nature. This is going to look at the biological development of your brain and how your parents can impact that. So, the experience and brain development. The more exposure, the stronger the neural connections. Mark Rosenwig and David Rutsch looked at rats, okay, and I kind of talked about this a little bit in class. Okay, he put a rat in a very impoverished environment, no toy, no contact, no parents. Okay, there was very little brain development. Okay, then he put other rats where there was an enriched environment, okay, lots of interaction, and they saw a stronger development of those rats. He looked at the brains of these rats, and he saw that the ones in the enriched environment had a thicker cortex. And remember what the cortex revolves around? Okay, the frontal, the parietal, the temporal, and occipital. They have higher level thinking ability. Okay, he handled the rats. Okay, and when he handled certain rats and massaged certain rats and cared for the certain rats, they actually were more prone to gain weight, and they developed neurologically faster, being able to go through a maze or complete a task. Okay, so this kind of goes along with the path more traveled in a forest is easier to complete. So if you're exposing or you're allowing more of those connections to take place, it's going to create better neural pathways. Okay. Parents, they want to know how much parents and impact early experience. How much credit or blame do parents deserve? It's always interesting that parents always want to take the acceptance when your child does really well and they take full credit for it, but then when a child does something wrong, they want no credit for it at all. Okay, but what we do know, it's really hard to take a child and figure out nurture versus nature and how much of that parent support has really impacted the kids. And we've talked about this discussion before. Okay, they're so intertwined, and we looked all the way from fetal development. Okay, the genes versus, whether or not the mother had good nutrition. Right? In studies, however, in correlation studies, they find if you live in a household where there's more abuse, okay, they're going to be likely more abusive as a child. Okay, neglected are often going to neglect. Okay, and if something is expressed of love, you are going to express love very well. All right, again, okay, this is kind of a very touchy subject. Just because you were abused does not mean you are going to become an abuser. Okay, it's a correlation. It's looking at the data. All right, you obviously can overcome a lot of this stuff through therapy, through discussion, through understanding who you are and why this stuff happens. How often do our peers influence us? Okay, again, the impact of peers increases in older childhood and adolescent. We see that no longer it's going from a shift from the parents were kind of the most important people to, in age 4 and 5 and 6, and now all of a sudden peers are playing a bigger role. They talk about how you develop your friendships. A big way of the reasons why you develop your friendship is because of the location, who's close to you, and your environment. Parents also have a big hand in your early childhood experiences of who you can and cannot hang out with. They may set up your play dates. And then you also kind of develop friends and relationships around people who share similar activities. Okay, so let's kind of recap what development talked about. Development looked at the nature and nurture of gender, okay, and the roles and identity and the type that we experience. It also talked about your parent influence on nurture and nature. And then the last thing it talked about was your peer influence. So I will see you in class.